Hi, my beautiful family. Welcome back to Life-Changing True Stories. Today I bring you a powerful and deeply loving story asterisk. Sofia Martinez pressed her forehead against the cool glass of the taxi window, watching the city lights blur into streaks of gold and white. Her engagement ring sat heavy in her pocket, no longer on her finger where it had been for 2 years. The weight of it felt like carrying around a piece of her shattered heart 20-4 hours ago. She had been planning a wedding. 24 hours ago, she believed in forever. Then she had walked into her fiancé's Brandon's apartment with surprise dinner reservations, only to find him in bed with her former college roommate. The image was burned into her mind. His guilty face, the woman's mocking smile, the way her entire future crumbled in seconds. The taxi stopped in front of the Grand Meridian Hotel, one of the most expensive places in the city. Sofia had never been inside before, but tonight she needed somewhere that felt nothing like her life. She needed to disappear into luxury and anonymity, to pretend she was someone else for just a few hours. The bar was dimly lit with soft jazz playing from a grand piano in the corner. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over polished marble and velvet seating. Sofia felt out of place in her simple black dress, but she slid onto a bar stool anyway and ordered wine with a trembling voice. She stared at her reflection in the mirrored wall behind the bottles. Her dark hair fell in waves around her face, and her brown eyes looked hollow. Who was this broken woman staring back at her? She barely recognized herself. That was when she felt it. A gaze so intense, it made her skin prickle with awareness. She turned her head and her breath. Caught in her throat, across the bar sat a man who looked like he belonged in a different world entirely. He was devastatingly handsome with sharp cheekbones. Dark hair swept back perfectly and eyes that were almost black in the dim lighting. His suit probably cost more than her entire wardrobe. Everything about him screamed power, wealth, danger, and he was staring directly at her. Sofia quickly looked away, her cheeks flushing. She took a long sip of wine, trying to calm her racing heart, but curiosity pulled at her, and she glanced back. He was still watching her with an intensity that made her feel exposed, like he could see every broken piece inside her. To her shock, he stood up. His movements were fluid and confident as he crossed the space between them. Sofia's pulse thundered in her ears. Men like him did not approach women like her. Yet here he was, sliding onto the stool beside her, bringing with him the scent of expensive cologne and something darker, more intoxicating. "You look like someone who came here to disappear," he said. His voice was deep, smooth, commanding without being loud. It wrapped around her like silk. Sofia blinked at him, caught off guard by how accurately he had read her. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who knows what pain looks like. His dark eyes studied her face with unsettling focus. "I'm Damien, Sofia," she whispered, feeling small next to his overwhelming presence. Damien signaled the bartender without breaking eye contact with her. Moments later, a glass of deep red wine appeared in front of Sofia, something far more expensive than what she had ordered. "I didn't ask for this," she said quietly. "I know." His lips curved slightly. "But you need it." She should have been offended by his presumption. Instead, she found herself lifting the glass, the rich taste coating her tongue as warmth spread through her chest. There was something magnetic about him, something that made all her rational thoughts scatter. "What brings you here tonight?" Sofia asked, trying to steady her voice. "Business," Damien replied. "In fate, apparently." "You don't strike me as someone who believes in fate." His expression darkened with something she could not quite read. "I believe in taking what I want when I see it," the words sent a shiver down her spine. There was no mistaking the hunger in his gaze, the way he looked at her like she was already his. It should have frightened her. Instead, it ignited something dangerous inside her. Something reckless that had been dormant her entire careful life. "You don't even know me," Sofia whispered. "Then tell me." Damien leaned closer, his presence overwhelming. "Tell me why someone as beautiful as you is sitting alone in a hotel bar looking like her world just ended." Tears burned behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Because it did end. My fiancé. I found him with someone else yesterday." Understanding flickered across Damien's face, followed by something harder, angrier. "He's a fool. Maybe I was the fool for trusting him." "No." Damien's hand moved to cover hers on the bar, his touch sending electricity through her skin. You're not a fool for having a heart. He's a fool for not protecting it. Sophia stared at their joined hands, at the way his fingers curled around hers with possessive certainty. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was dangerous, that she should pull away. That strangers like this did not appear in real life, but she was so tired of being logical. Logic had given her a cheating fiancé and a broken heart. Maybe recklessness could give her something different. Come with me, Damien said suddenly, his voice dropping lower. It was not quite a question, not quite a command, but something in between that made her pulse race. What? Sophia breathed. One night. No past, no future, no pain. Just you and me. His thumb stroked across her knuckles. Let me make you forget everything that hurts. Her mind spun. This was insane. She did not do things like this. She was responsible, careful, the girl who always played by the rules. But where had that gotten her? Alone and broken in a hotel bar? I shouldn't, Sophia whispered, even as her body leaned toward him. But you want to. Damien's eyes burned into hers. I can see it. You want to stop thinking, stop hurting, stop being the good girl who always does what she's supposed to. He was right, and that terrified her. You're a stranger. Strangers can't break your heart because you never gave it to them. You reached into his pocket and pulled out a sleek black key card, placing it on the bar between them. Room 1205. The choice is yours, Sophia. Walk away and go back to your pain. Or come with me and I promise you'll forget it ever existed. Then he stood, buttoned his jacket with casual grace, and walked toward the elevators without looking back. The key card sat on the bar, a small piece of plastic that represented a cliff edge she could either step back from or leap off entirely. Sophia stared at it, her hands shaking. Every responsible voice in her head screamed no, but a louder voice, one born from heartbreak and desperation and a wild need to feel something other than pain, whispered yes. She picked up the key card. Her legs felt unsteady as she crossed the bar toward the elevators. Her reflection in the mirrored walls showed a woman she barely recognized. Someone with flushed cheeks and dilated pupils. Someone who was about to do something completely out of character. The elevator ride to the 12th floor felt both endless and far too short. When the doors opened, Sophia stepped into the quiet hallway, her heels silent on the plush carpet. Room 1205 waited at the end of the hall like a door to another dimension. She stood outside it for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds. Her hand trembled as she raised the keycard to the lock. She could still turn back. She could still run, but she did not want to run anymore. The lock clicked. The door opened. Damien stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering city. He had removed his jacket, and his white shirt was unbuttoned at the collar, revealing a glimpse of tanned skin. When he turned to face her, the intensity in his eyes stole her breath. You came, he said. Satisfaction and something deeper, coloring his voice. Sophia stepped inside, the door closing behind her with a soft click that felt final. I came. Are you sure about this? Damien crossed the room in 3 long strides, stopping just inches from her. Because once you're mine, even for tonight, I don't share. Her heart hammered against her ribs. I'm sure. His hand rose to cup her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone with unexpected gentleness. Then I need you to understand something, Sophia. I'm going to make you feel things you've never felt before. I'm going to erase every memory of him from your skin. And when the sun comes up, you'll know exactly what it feels like to be worshipped. Before she could respond, his mouth claimed hers. The kiss was nothing like the gentle pecks she had shared with Brandon. This was consuming, demanding, a brand of possession that set every nerve in her body on fire. His hands moved to her waist, pulling her against the hard planes of his body. And Sophia melted into him with a soft gasp. Damien's lips moved from her mouth to her jaw, trailing heat down her neck. Tell me to stop and I will, he murmured against her skin. But Sophia could not form words. Her fingers curled into his shirt, holding him closer instead of pushing him away. She had never wanted anything as much as she wanted this moment, this man, this escape from reality. He lifted her easily, carrying her toward the massive bed. When he laid her down on the silk sheets, his eyes swept over her like a physical touch. "You're trembling. I've never done this before," Sophia admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "Not like this. Not with someone I just met." Something shifted in Damien's expression. Surprise, followed by a fierce protectiveness that made her breath catch. "Are you telling me you're a virgin?" Heat flooded her cheeks. "No, but I've only been with one person, my ex." Damien's jaw tightened, and for a moment she thought he might pull away. Instead, he leaned down, his lips brushing her ear. "Then tonight, I'm going to ruin you for anyone else. You'll never forget this. Never forget me." And with those words, Damien claimed her with a passion that shattered every wall she had built around her heart. His touch was both gentle and demanding, reverent and possessive. He took his time learning every curve of her body, every sound she made, every place that made her gasp his name. When he finally made her his completely, Sophia cried out, not from pain, but from the overwhelming intensity of feeling so connected to another person. Damien moved with controlled power, his eyes never leaving hers, his hands anchoring her to him like she might disappear. "Look at me," he commanded when her eyes fluttered closed. "I want to see you fall apart." And she did. Over and over until she lost count, until her voice was hoarse from calling his name, till she forgot everything except the feeling of being completely and utterly consumed. Afterward, Damien held her against his chest, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her bare shoulder. Sophia felt boneless, transformed, like she had been taken apart and put back together as someone new. "Stay," Damien murmured into her hair. "Don't run from this." But even as exhaustion pulled her under, Sophia knew the truth. This night was magic, but magic never lasted. And men like Damien Cross did not keep girls like her beyond one perfect night. Sophia woke to golden sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. For a moment she felt peaceful, wrapped in expensive sheets that smelled like Damien's cologne. Then reality crashed down on her like a wave. What had she done? She turned her head slowly. Damien lay beside her, one muscular arm draped across the pillow where her head had rested. His face was relaxed in sleep, the sharp edges of his power softened into something almost vulnerable. He looked younger like this, more human. And that made everything worse. Because Sophia could feel herself falling. And she knew that was the most dangerous thing she could do. Last night had been supposed to be an escape, a moment outside of time where she could forget her pain. But lying here in the morning light, watching this beautiful, powerful man sleep, she realized she had made a terrible mistake. Not in coming here, but in believing she could walk away unscathed. Men like Damien did not belong in her world. He was a billionaire, clearly someone used to getting whatever he wanted. She was just an ordinary girl with a broken heart and a resume full of entry-level positions. Last night had been fantasy, but fantasy always ended. She had to leave before she let herself want more than one night. Moving carefully, Sophia slipped out from under the sheets. Her body ached in unfamiliar places, reminders of how thoroughly Damien had claimed her. She gathered her clothes from where they had been scattered across the floor, her cheeks burning at the memory of how they got there. As she buttoned her dress with trembling fingers, she allowed herself one last look at him. Damien Cross. She did not even know his last name until she had noticed it embossed on the leather portfolio on the desk. A quick search on her phone, while he slept, had revealed exactly who she had given herself to. Damien Cross, billionaire CEO of Cross Industries, one of the largest corporate empires in the country. Forbes had called him ruthless. Business journals called him a genius. Society pages called him the city's most eligible bachelor, and she had been foolish enough to spend the night in his bed. Sophia picked up her shoes, unable to put them on without making noise. She tiptoed toward the door, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might wake him. Running away? She froze, her hand on the door handle. Slowly, she turned to find Damien. Awake, propped up on one elbow, watching her with those dark, penetrating eyes. He looked every bit the powerful predator he was, even disheveled and shirtless. "I was not running," Sophia stammered, though they both knew it was a lie. "I just thought it would be easier this way." "Easier for who?" Damien sat up fully, the sheets pooling at his waist. "You or me?" "For both of us." She forced herself to meet his gaze. Last night was beautiful, but it was just one night. You said so yourself. No past, no future. Something dangerous flickered in his eyes. I also said I don't share. That I was going to ruin you for anyone else. Did you think those were just words? Sophia's throat tightened. What do you want from me, Damien? We're from different worlds. You're a billionaire and I'm just someone trying to start over after a bad breakup. This was never going to be more than one night. Why not? He stood, pulling on his pants with casual grace, then moved toward her. Who decided that? Reality decided that. Sophia backed against the door. I don't belong in your world. I saw your name online. I know who you are. Just Sophia Martinez, unemployed with a marketing degree and a broken engagement. We don't make sense. Damien stopped inches from her, his presence overwhelming. You're right, we don't make sense. But I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since the moment you walked into that bar. And last night only made it worse. Her heart raced. You'll forget about me in a week. Will I? His hand came up to cup her face, his touch achingly gentle. Or will you be the one trying to forget? Because I saw the way you looked at me last night, Sophia. I felt the way you came apart in my arms. That was not just physical. You felt this connection too. Tears burned behind her eyes, because he was right. She had felt something profound, something that terrified her. That's exactly why I have to go. I can't afford to fall for someone like you. I'll only end up broken again. Before Damien could respond, Sophia turned the handle and slipped out the door. She ran down the hallway in her bare feet, not stopping until she reached the elevator. Only when the doors closed did she let the tears fall. She had just walked away from the most incredible night of her life. Somehow it hurt worse than finding her fiancé with another woman. 2 weeks later, Sophia stood in front of her bathroom mirror, smoothing down her navy blazer for the 10th time. Today was her first day at her new job, and she needed everything to be perfect. After her breakup and her reckless night with Damien, she had thrown herself into job hunting with desperate focus. She needed purpose, needed to rebuild her life into something stable. Sterling Enterprises had hired her as a junior marketing coordinator. It was not glamorous, but it was a start. A fresh beginning in a company where nobody knew about her failed engagement or her moment of weakness at the Grand Meridian Hotel. The office building was sleek and modern, all glass and steel, reaching toward the sky. Sophia checked in with security, received her badge, and took the elevator to the 15th floor where the marketing department was located. You must be Sophia. A friendly woman with red hair approached, extending her hand. I'm Jennifer, your team leader. Welcome to Sterling. Thank you. Sophia shook her hand, feeling some of her nerves settle. I'm excited to be here. Jennifer showed her to a small cubicle and spent the morning going over procedures, introducing her to coworkers, explaining projects. It was overwhelming, but in a good way. Sophia felt like she was finally moving forward. We have an all-hands meeting at 2, Jennifer said around lunchtime. The CEO likes to welcome new employees personally. It's a nice touch, actually. Most CEOs don't. Bother. Sophia nodded, making a note in her planner. She spent lunch at her desk reviewing the company handbook and familiarizing herself with their marketing campaigns. At 1:50, Jennifer appeared to escort her to the conference room on the top floor. The room was already filling with employees. Sophia found a seat near the back, her heart rate picking up slightly. She had always been nervous in large groups, especially when she was the new person. Good afternoon, everyone. Familiar deep. The voice came from the front of the room and Sophia's blood turned to ice. No, it could not be. But when she looked up, there he was. Damien Cross stood at the head of the conference table, commanding the room with the same presence he had commanded that hotel suite. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than. Her car and his dark eyes swept over the assembled employees with cool authority. Sophia's world tilted. Sterling Enterprises, Cross Industries. How had she not made the connection? How had she been so stupid? We have several new team members joining us this month, Damien continued, his voice betraying nothing. I like to personally welcome each of you and remind you that at Cross Industries, we value innovation, dedication, and loyalty. His eyes landed on her and Sophia watched recognition flare in their depths. For a heartbeat, his professional mask slipped, revealing shock, hunger, and something darker. Then it was back in place, smooth as glass. Sophia Martinez, our new marketing coordinator. Damien's gaze pinned her to her seat. Welcome to the company, Miss Martinez. I look forward to seeing what you contribute to our team. The way he said her name made heat flood her cheeks. Around her, people clapped politely. Sophia managed a nod, unable to form words. The meeting continued, but Sophia heard none of it. Her mind was racing. Of all the companies in the city, she had somehow ended up working for Damien Cross, the man she had spent one incredible night with, the man she had run from because she was too afraid of what he made her feel. When the meeting ended, Sophia tried to slip out quickly. She made it to the elevator before a hand caught her arm. My office. Now. Damien's voice was low enough that nobody else could hear, but the command in it was unmistakable. Mr. Cross. I don't think that's appropriate, Sophia whispered, her pulse racing. His eyes darkened. It was not a request. He released her arm and walked toward a private elevator, clearly expecting her to follow. Sophia glanced around at the dispersing employees, then made a choice. She followed him. The executive floor was even more luxurious than the conference room. Damien's office occupied a corner with views of the entire city. He closed the door behind them, and suddenly, the space felt too small, despite its size. I didn't know, Sophia blurted out. I swear I didn't know this was your company when I applied. I would never have taken the job if I had realized. Damien leaned against his desk, studying her. Why not? Because this is impossible. We can't work together after what happened. What happened? Damien asked softly, dangerously. Say it, Sophia. Tell me what happened between us. Her face burned. You know what happened? I want to hear you say it. He moved closer, his presence overwhelming. Because for 2 weeks I've been trying to convince myself that night was not as incredible as I remembered, that you were not as perfect as you felt in my arms. And then you walk into my company, into my world, and prove fate has a twisted sense of humor. This is not fate, Sophia insisted, backing away. This is a nightmare. I can't work here. I'll resign, like hell you will. Damien's voice turned hard. You're good at running, or not you? You ran that morning, and now you want to run again. But I'm done letting you go. You don't get to decide that. This is my life, my career. I won't let you ruin it because we had one night together. One night. Damien caught her wrist, pulling her closer. You think that's all it was? I've had countless nights with countless women, Sophia, and none of them haunted me the way you do. None of them made me feel like I was finally holding something real. Sophia's breath caught at the raw honesty in his voice. Damien, please, this can't happen. The company has policies about workplace relationships. People will talk. They'll say, I slept my way into this job, then let them talk. His thumb stroked the inside of her wrist, making her shiver. I don't care what people say. I care about the fact that you're here, and I'm not wasting this second chance. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. Damien released her wrist but did not step back. You work for me now, which means you're under my protection, and I protect what's mine. I'm not yours, Sophia whispered, even as her body betrayed her by swaying toward him. His eyes blazed. You became mine the moment you walked through that hotel room door. You became mine when you gave yourself to me, when you said my name like a prayer. And whether you want to admit it or not, part of you knows it's true. Sophia wanted to deny it. She wanted to be strong enough to walk away. But standing this close to him, feeling the heat of his body and the intensity of his gaze, she realized the truth. She had been his from that first night, and running had not changed that. This is a mistake, she said weakly. Then it's one we'll make together. Damien's hand came up to cup her face. Stay. Work here. Let me prove that what we have is more than one night. Before she could respond, a knock sounded on the door. They jumped apart as Jennifer poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Cross. Sophia, your computer access should be set up now. I can show you to your desk. Thank you, Jennifer. Damien's voice was perfectly professional again. Miss Martinez will continue this discussion later. Welcome to Cross Industries. The dismissal was clear. Sophia fled the office, her heart pounding. As she followed Jennifer back to the marketing department, she realized with sinking certainty that her life had just become infinitely more complicated. 3 days passed in a blur of orientation, training, and desperate attempts to avoid Damien. But avoiding him was impossible. He seemed to be everywhere. In the elevator when she arrived in the morning, walking past her cubicle with barely a glance that still made her skin burn, calling meetings that required her presence, and always, his eyes found hers. Dark, possessive, promising things that made her pulse race and her resolve weaken. On Thursday afternoon, Sophia was reviewing a campaign proposal when her desk phone rang. "Miss Martinez, this is Mr. Cross's assistant. He needs to see you in his office immediately regarding the Henderson account." Sophia's stomach dropped. The Henderson account was not even in her department, but she could not refuse a direct summons from the CEO without raising suspicion. She took the private elevator to the executive floor, her hands clenched into fists. When she entered his office, Damien was standing by the window, his back to her. "Close the door," he said without turning. Sophia did, her heart hammering. "You wanted to see me about Henderson?" "There is no Henderson account." Damien turned to face her. "I needed to see you alone, and you've been avoiding me. It's inappropriate, Mr. Cross. You can't abuse your position to summon me for personal reasons, can I?" He moved toward her with predatory grace. "You're in my building, working for my company. And I'm tired of pretending I don't want you." "You can't do this," Sophia insisted, even as heat pooled in her belly. "Someone could walk in. People will find out. Let them." Damien backed her against the door. "I don't care anymore. Well, I do." Sophia ducked under his arm, putting the desk between them. "I need this job, Damien. I can't afford to lose it because of office gossip or nepotism accusations. Please, just let me work here without complications." Something in her desperate tone made him pause. His expression softened slightly. "You really need this job?" "Yes. After my breakup, I've been rebuilding my life. This position was supposed to be my fresh start." Damien was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Fine. I'll keep my distance at work. But Sophia, that doesn't change what's between us. And eventually, you're going to stop running." Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. He answered it, his attention shifting to business. Sophia took the opportunity to slip out, her legs shaky with relief and something disappointingly close to regret. She made it through the rest of the week by burying herself in work. She arrived early, left late, and avoided the executive floor entirely. It almost felt like she was managing to create boundaries. Then Friday evening happened. Sophia was the last one in the marketing department, finalizing a presentation for Monday. The building was quiet, most employees having left hours ago. She stretched, rolling her shoulders, and decided to grab coffee from the break room. That was when she heard voices in the hallway. Angry voices. One of them was chillingly familiar. "I don't care what you think you're owed, Brandon. Get out of this building before I have security throw you out." Sophia's blood ran cold. Brandon, her ex-fiancé. What was he doing here? She stepped into the hallway and froze. Brandon stood 20 feet away, facing off against Damien. Her ex looked smaller somehow, diminished next to Damien's commanding presence. "Sophia." Brandon's eyes lit up when he saw her. "Thank God. Tell your boyfriend here that we need to talk." "He's not my boyfriend," Sophia said automatically, moving closer despite her instincts screaming at her to run. "What are you doing here, Brandon?" "I got a job at one of Cross Industries' partner firms." "Can you believe it? Fate, bringing us together again." Brandon smiled like this was good news. "I think the universe is telling us we're meant to be. We can work through what happened." Sophia stared at him in disbelief. "Work through what happened?" "You cheated on me with my friend. It was a mistake. I was stressed about the wedding. But I realize now that you're the one I want." Brandon took a step toward her, but Damien moved between them with frightening speed. "You don't get to speak to her," Damien said, his voice deadly quiet. "You don't get to look at her. You don't get to breathe the same air as her. You had your chance, and you threw it away." Brandon's face reddened. "And who are you? Her knight in shining armor? Please." She's probably sleeping with you to get ahead. That's what girls like her do. The words hit Sophia like a slap. Before she could respond, Damien's fist connected with Brandon's jaw. Her ex stumbled backward, landing hard on the floor. Security! Damien barked into his phone. I need someone to remove a trespasser from the 15th floor immediately. Brandon scrambled to his feet, holding his bleeding lip. You'll regret this. Both of you. I'll sue. I'll tell everyone what kind of company this is. Try it, Damien said coldly. I have more lawyers than you have brain cells. And if you ever come near Sophia again, if you even think about her, I will destroy you. Your career, your reputation, everything. Are we clear? 2 security guards appeared, grabbing Brandon by the arms. He shot Sophia one last venomous look before they dragged him toward the elevators. The silence that followed was deafening. Sophia stared at Damien. Her emotions a chaotic storm. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Damien flexed his hand, his knuckles already bruising. Nobody talks about you like that. Nobody. You hit him. I should have done worse. He turned to face her fully, and the protective fury in his eyes made her breath catch. He was trying to manipulate you, trying to make you doubt yourself. I won't stand for that. Tears burned in Sophia's eyes. Why do you care so much? We barely know each other. Damien closed the distance between them, his hands framing her face with surprising gentleness. Because from the moment I saw you in that bar, broken and beautiful, I knew you were different. Because when you gave yourself to me, it felt like coming home. Because I'm falling for you, Sophia, and I don't know how to stop. The confession hung in the air between them, raw and honest. Sophia's heart raced as she stared into his dark eyes and saw the truth there. This powerful, ruthless man was vulnerable for her? I'm scared, she whispered. So am I, Damien admitted. But I'd rather be scared with you than empty without you. Before she could overthink it, Sophia rose on her toes and kissed him. Damien responded immediately, his arms wrapping around her, pulling her against him like he was afraid she would disappear. The kiss was different from their first night, less desperate, more certain. A promise instead of an escape. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Damien rested his forehead against hers. Come home with me tonight, he murmured. Not to my hotel room, to my actual home. Let me show you that I'm serious about this. Sophia knew she should say no. Should maintain boundaries and professional distance. But she was tired of running from the one thing that felt right in her chaotic life. Okay, she whispered. Take me home. Damien's penthouse was nothing like Sophia had imagined. She had expected cold luxury, all glass and steel like his office building. Instead, she found warmth. Exposed brick walls, comfortable leather furniture, bookshelves overflowing with worn paperbacks. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the glittering city. But the space itself felt lived in, personal. This is beautiful, Sophia said softly, running her fingers along the spine of a book on philosophy. It's home. Damien shrugged out of his jacket, loosening his tie. I don't bring people here. This space is mine, private. Then why bring me? He moved behind her, his hands settling on her shoulders. Because I want you to see the real me, not just the billionaire CEO. I want you to know the man behind the reputation. Sophia turned in his arms, studying his face. In the soft lighting of his home, Damien looked younger, more approachable. The hard edges of power had softened into something gentler. Tell me about yourself, she said. Your real story, not the Forbes version. Damien guided her to the couch, pulling her down beside him. For a moment, he was quiet, his thumb tracing circles on her hand. I grew up with nothing, he finally said. My mother was a single parent, working 3 jobs to keep us fed. We lived in a tiny apartment where I could hear everything through paper-thin walls. I watched her work herself to exhaustion, and I promised myself I'd never be powerless like that. Sophia's heart clenched at the pain in his voice. Is she still alive? She died when I was 20. Heart attack from stress and overwork. Damien's jaw tightened. I had just started my first business. I was making money, finally able to help her, and then she was gone. By the time I could afford the penthouse, there was nobody to share it with. I'm so sorry. Sophia squeezed his hand. understanding now where his drive came from. Why control mattered so much to him. I built an empire because I was terrified of being helpless again. And then you walked into that hotel bar looking just as lost as I used to feel, and something shifted. He turned to face her fully. You make me want something more than power and money. You make me want connection, authenticity, love. The word hung between them, heavy with meaning. Damien, Sophia whispered, her eyes stinging with tears. I don't know if I can give you what you need. I'm still healing from Brandon. I'm still figuring out who I am without him. Then let me help you figure it out. Damien cupped her face, his touch achingly gentle. I'm not asking you to be healed. I'm asking you to let me be part of your healing. To trust that what we have is worth the risk. Sophia searched his eyes and saw only sincerity. This man who could have anyone, who could buy anything, was offering her his heart with no guarantees. She asked, What if I'm not strong enough for your world? You're the strongest person I know. Damien's thumb brushed away a tear that had escaped. You survived betrayal and kept moving forward. You walked away from me because you were protecting yourself, not because you were weak. Sophia, you're exactly strong enough. Something inside her cracked open, all the walls she had built crumbling under the weight of his faith in her. I'm falling for you too, she admitted. I tried not to. I tried to convince myself it was just physical, just one night. But I can't stop thinking about you. Damien's expression transformed, relief and joy flooding his features. Say it again? I'm falling for you, Damien Cross. He kissed her then, slow and deep, pouring everything he felt into it. Sophia melted against him, her hand sliding into his hair, anchoring herself to this moment. When he lifted her, carrying her toward his bedroom, she did not protest. This time, she was not running toward escape. She was running toward something real. The weekend passed in. A blur of intimacy and conversation. They stayed in Damien's penthouse, ordering food and talking for hours. He told her about building his company from nothing, about the ruthless decisions he had made and the people he had hurt along the way. She told him about her family, her dreams of working in marketing, the way Brandon's betrayal had shattered her trust. They made love slowly, learning each other's bodies with new intentionality. Every touch was a promise, every kiss a vow. Sophia felt herself opening up in ways she had never allowed with Brandon. Damien did not just want her body. He wanted her mind, her fears, her hopes. On Sunday evening, as they lay tangled in his sheets watching the sunset paint the city gold, Sophia's phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. Big presentation tomorrow with the CEO. Make sure you're prepared. Sophia's stomach dropped. Tomorrow meant returning to reality, to the complicated situation of working for the man she was falling in love with. What's wrong? Damien asked, sensing her tension. Work. We have a presentation tomorrow, and people are going to notice the way we look at each other. They're going to figure it out. Would that be so terrible? Sophia sat up, pulling the sheet around herself. Yes. I don't want people thinking I got my job because of you. I don't want to be known as the girl who slept her way to success. Damien sat up too, his expression serious. Then what do you want? I want to earn my place at Cross Industries. Sophia met his gaze. I want to prove I deserve to be there, that I'm good at what I do. And I can't do that if everyone thinks I'm just your girlfriend. So what are you saying? That we hide this? No. Sophia took a deep breath, making a decision. I'm saying I quit. Damien's eyes widened. What? I'll find another job, somewhere I can build my career without the shadow of our relationship hanging over it. And once I've proven myself, once I've established my own reputation, then we can be together publicly. Absolutely not. Damien's voice turned hard. I'm not letting you sacrifice your career because of me. You're not letting me do anything. This is my choice. They stared at each other, both stubborn, both afraid. Finally, Damien exhaled slowly. There's another option, he said quietly. One we haven't considered. What? I stepped down as CEO. Sophia's jaw dropped. Are you insane? That's your company. You built it from nothing. I can find someone else to run it. Damien took her hands. I have a talented team, a strong board. Cross Industries doesn't need me to micromanage it anymore. Maybe it's time I focused on what actually matters. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. His eyes burned with intensity. You said you don't want people to think you're using me for career advancement. Fine, remove me from the equation. I'll transition to chairman of the board, bring in a new CEO, and nobody can accuse you of sleeping your way to the top. Sophia shook her head, overwhelmed. That's too much. I can't let you give up everything for me. You're not letting me do anything. This is my choice. Damien echoed her own words back to her. And honestly, Sophia, I'm tired. I'm tired of the constant pressure, the endless meetings, the lack of time for anything that matters. My mother worked herself to death, and I've been heading down the same path. You're giving me a reason to change course. Tears spilled down Sophia's cheeks. This is crazy. Maybe. Damien smiled, brushing away her tears. But I've made my fortune doing crazy things. Why stop now? Over the next month, Damien made good on his promise. He announced his transition to chairman, bringing in a respected industry veteran as the new CEO. The business world buzzed with speculation. But Damien remained calm, confident in his decision. Sophia threw herself into work, determined to prove her worth. She developed innovative campaigns, exceeded her targets, and earned respect from her colleagues through sheer competence. Without Damien in the CEO role, nobody questioned her abilities. They kept their relationship private at first, meeting in his penthouse after work, stealing weekends away from the city. But gradually, as Sophia's confidence grew, they stopped hiding. The office gossip was inevitable. Some people whispered about nepotism, about special treatment. But Sophia's work spoke for itself. Within 6 months, she earned a promotion based entirely on merit. And when she and Damien attended the company Christmas party together, hand in hand, most of the whispers had turned to acceptance. 1 year after that fateful night at the Grand Meridian Hotel, Damien took Sophia back to the same bar where they had met. She wore a red dress that made his eyes darken with desire, and she felt confident in a way she never had before. Why did you bring me here? She asked as they sat at the same bar stools where their story had begun. Because I want to replace a bad memory with a good one. Damien reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Sophia Martinez, you walked into this bar broken and beautiful, and you've spent the past year becoming whole again. You didn't need me to save you. You saved yourself. But I'd like to spend the rest of my life standing beside you while you continue to be extraordinary. Open the box, revealing a stunning diamond ring that caught the light and scattered it into rainbows. Marry me, not because I'm a billionaire, not because of some obsession, but because you're my best friend, my home, my heart. Marry me because we choose each other every single day. Sophia's hands trembled as she stared at the ring. A year ago, an engagement ring had represented broken promises. Now, it represented possibility. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes, I'll marry you. Damien slid the ring onto her finger, and when he kissed her, the entire bar erupted in applause. Sophia laughed against his lips, her heart so full it felt like it might burst. I love you, Damien murmured. My obsession turned into forever. I love you too, Sophia replied. My one night turned into always. They spent the rest of the evening at that bar, celebrating with strangers who felt like witnesses to a miracle. And when they finally returned to Damien's penthouse, now their penthouse, Sophia reflected on how far she had come. She had walked into that hotel bar trying to forget pain. Instead, she had found healing, strength, and a love that transformed both of them. 6 months later, they married in a small ceremony surrounded by close friends and family. Damien wore a simple black suit, and Sophia wore lace and carried wildflowers. They exchanged vows they had written themselves, promises to choose each other through fear and joy, through struggle and triumph. As they danced their first dance as husband and wife, Sophia looked up at the man who had started as a stranger and became her everything. What are you thinking? Damien asked, his arms wrapped securely around her. I'm thinking about how one night can change your entire life, Sophia said softly. How the worst day of your life can lead to the best thing that ever happened to you. Damien smiled, pressing a kiss to her forehead. Are you talking about the night we met, or tonight? Both. Sophia rested her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. All of it. Every moment that led us here. No regrets, he asked quietly. She looked up at him, at the man who had seen her at her most broken and loved her back to wholeness. The man who had given up his position as CEO to give her room to grow. The man who chose her every single day. Not a single one, Sophia whispered. I'd walk into that bar again in a heartbeat if I knew it meant finding you. Damien's eyes shone with emotion. You gave yourself to a billionaire for one night, and I spent every day since trying to deserve you. You already do, Sophia assured him. You deserve happiness, Damien. We both do. As they swayed to the music, Sophia thought about the girl who had sat at that bar a year and a half ago, was drowning her sorrows in expensive wine. That girl had been looking for escape. This woman had found home. She had given her first time to a stranger who became an obsession, who became a partner, who became her husband. And in return, he had given her something infinitely more valuable than his wealth or his power. He had given her permission to heal at her own pace. He had given her space to become strong. He had given her unconditional love that asked for nothing but her authentic self. Their wedding reception continued around them, laughter and music filling the air. But in their private bubble on the dance floor, Sophia and Damien existed in their own world. A world they had built together, brick by brick, choice by choice, day by day. Thank you, Sophia murmured against his chest. For what? Damien asked. For seeing me when I felt invisible. For wanting me when I felt unworthy. For loving me when I didn't know how to love myself. Damien tilted her chin up, his dark eyes intense with emotion. Sophia, you have it backward. Thank you for taking a chance on a broken billionaire who thought money could fill the emptiness inside. Thank you for showing me that real wealth is measured in moments, not millions. Thank you for choosing me. They kissed then, soft and sweet, a promise renewed. Around them their guests cheered, but Sophia barely heard them. All she heard was the steady beat of Damien's heart against hers, the rhythm that had become her favorite song that night. As they left the reception in a car decorated with flowers and good wishes, Sophia looked back one last time at the celebration. Her journey had been painful, full of betrayal and heartbreak, but it had led her here, to this man, to this love, to this life. She had given herself to a billionaire to forget her pain. Instead, she had discovered that pain could transform into purpose, that broken hearts could heal stronger than before, and that one night off recklessness could become a lifetime of intentional love. As the car pulled away from the venue, Damien laced his fingers through hers, bringing her hand to his lips. What are you thinking about, Mrs. Cross? Sophia smiled at the name, still getting used to how it sounded. I'm thinking about how much I've changed. A year and a half ago, I thought my life was over because of Brandon's betrayal. I thought I'd never trust anyone again. And now I realize that betrayal was the universe pushing me towards something better. If he hadn't cheated, I never would have gone to that hotel bar. I never would have met you. Damien's expression grew serious. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't picked up that key card? If you had just walked away that night? Sophia considered the question. Sometimes. But I don't think I could have walked away. There was something about you even then. Something that called to the part of me that was tired of playing it safe. You were the bravest person in that bar, Damien said softly. Coming to a luxury hotel alone, drowning your sorrows with dignity, and then taking a chance on a stranger. You weren't running from your pain, Sophia. You were running toward your future. They arrived at the penthouse, their home now filled with touches of both their personalities. Sophia's artwork hung on the walls beside Damien's vintage book collection. Her plants brought life to the corners, while his leather furniture provided comfort. It was a perfect blend of who they had been separately and who they were becoming together. Damien carried her over the threshold despite her laughing protests, setting her down gently in the living room. The city stretched out beyond the windows, millions of lights twinkling like stars brought down to earth. I have something for you, Damien said, reaching into his jacket pocket. Another gift? You've already given me everything. Not everything. Pulled out an envelope, slightly worn at the edges. Open it. Sophia's hands trembled as she unfolded the paper inside. It was the hotel receipt from that first night, the key card to room 1205 tucked inside. But there was something else, handwritten in Damien's bold script. The night that changed everything. The moment I found what I didn't know I was searching for. Keep this as a reminder that the best things in life come when we're brave enough to take chances on strangers who feel like home. Tears blurred Sophia's vision. You kept this? All this time? I kept it the morning you left, Damien admitted. I woke up, and you were gone, and all I had was that key card and a receipt with your wine order on it. I told myself I was being ridiculous, that it was just one night. But I couldn't throw it away. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted you to choose me without knowing how obsessed I was from the beginning. He smiled ruefully. I wanted you to fall for me naturally, not because I'd been carrying around evidence of our first night like some lovesick fool. Sophia laughed through her tears, tucking the envelope carefully into her purse. You are a lovesick fool. But you're my lovesick fool. Forever, Damien agreed, pulling her close. They stood like that for a long moment, wrapped in each other's arms, looking out at the city where their story had begun. Sophia thought about all the nights she had spent in her old apartment, crying over Brandon, thinking her life was ruined. She thought about the girl who had walked into that hotel bar desperate to forget. That girl would never have believed where she would end up. Married to a man who saw her worth when she couldn't see it herself, building a career she was proud of, not because of who she knew, but because of what she could do. Living in a penthouse that felt like home, not because of its luxury, but because of the love that filled it. I need to tell you something, Sophia said quietly. Damien pulled back to look at her, concern flickering across his face. What is it? I'm pregnant. The words hung in the air between them. Sophia had only found out that morning, had been holding the secret close all day, waiting for the right moment. And now, on their wedding night, it felt perfect. Damien's eyes widened, his mouth opening, but no sound coming out. For a moment, he just stared at her, and Sophia's heart started to race with worry. Say something, she whispered. I'm going to be a father. His voice was hoarse with emotion. Sophia nodded, her own tears spilling over. Are you happy? I know we hadn't planned this so soon, but Damien cut her off with a kiss that was desperate and tender all at once. When he pulled back, his cheeks were wet with tears. Happy? Sophia, I'm terrified and overjoyed and completely overwhelmed. A baby. Our baby. I was scared to tell you, Sophia admitted. Scared it was too fast. Too much. No. Damien placed his hand gently on her stomach, his expression full of wonder. This is perfect. You're perfect. Our timing might be unconventional, but when has anything about us been conventional? Sophia laughed, covering his hand with hers. That's true. We've done everything backward. One night stand, then dating, then working together, then engagement, then marriage, and now a baby.
Ow.
Damien knelt down, pressing a kiss to her stomach. Hello in there, little one. Your mother is the strongest, bravest, most beautiful woman in the world. And I promise to spend every day showing both of you how much you're loved. Sophia ran her fingers through his hair, her heart so full she thought it might burst. This man, who had once seemed so untouchable, was on his knees before her, talking to their unborn child with tears streaming down his face. Come here, she whispered, pulling him to his feet. Dance with me. There was no music, but it didn't matter. Damien wrapped his arms around her, and they swayed slowly in the living room, the city lights their only witness. Sophia rested her head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart, thinking about the tiny heartbeat growing inside her. What kind of father do you think you'll be? She asked softly. Damien was quiet for a moment, considering. Honestly, I'm terrified I'll mess it up. My own father left before I was born. I don't have a blueprint for this. Neither do I, Sophia said. My parents were good people, but they struggled. We all have scars from our childhoods, but maybe that's what makes us better parents. We know what not to do. I want to give our child everything, Damien said fiercely. Not just money and opportunities, but presence. Time, attention. I want them to never doubt that they're loved. They won't, Sophia assured him, because they'll have you as a father. The man who gave up being CEO to make room for love. The man who chose partnership over power, and they'll have you as a mother. The woman who rebuilt herself from ashes. The woman who taught me that vulnerability is strength. They continued to dance as the night grew later, talking about baby names and nursery colors and all the hopes they had for this new life they had created. Sophia felt the weight of the past year and a half settling into something solid and real. She was no longer the broken girl from the hotel bar. She was a wife, soon to be a mother, a successful professional, a woman who had learned to love herself. "I should probably tell you something else," Sophia said with a small smile. "There's more?" Damien raised an eyebrow. "Jennifer knows. About us? About everything?" "She figured it out months ago." "The whole office probably knows," Damien said with a shrug. "And I don't care anymore." "Let them talk. You've proven yourself a dozen times over. Anyone who thinks you're only successful because of me hasn't been paying attention." "Actually," Sophia said slowly, "I got offered a position at a competing firm last week. Head of their marketing department. Significant pay increase. My own team." Damien stiffened slightly. "Are you going to take it?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to prove I can succeed completely on my own outside of Cross Industries. But another part of me loves the company, loves the work I'm doing there, and stay," Damien said simply. "Not because of me, but because you want to. And if you decide to take the other position, I'll support that too." "Sophia, you don't have anything left to prove. You've already shown everyone, including yourself, what you're capable of. When did you get so wise?" Sophia teased. "When I married a woman who makes me want to be better every single day." They eventually made their way to the bedroom, exhausted from the long day, but too wired to sleep. Damien helped Sophia out of her wedding dress, with reverent care, his fingers tracing over her skin like he was memorizing every inch of her. "I can't believe you're carrying our child," he murmured, his hands splaying across her still flat stomach. "There's a tiny person in there that's half you and half me." Ding. "Strange, isn't it?" Sophia covered his hand with hers. "That something so small can change everything." "You changed everything the moment you walked into that bar," Damien said, pulling her down onto the bed beside him. "This little one is just continuing the tradition." They lay together in the darkness, wrapped in each other's arms, talking until their voices grew sleepy and their words started to blur together. Sophia felt safe in a way she never had before, like she had finally found the place she was always meant to be. "Damien," she whispered as sleep started to claim her. "Thank you for being obsessed with me." She felt him smile against her hair. "Thank you for being worth obsessing over. I love you." "I love you too, Sophia." More than I ever thought possible, sleep finally took them both. Sophia's last conscious thought was about the miracle of second chances. She had gone to that hotel bar to forget her pain, to lose herself in anonymity for one night. Instead, she had found the man who would help her remember what it felt like to be whole. One night had turned into forever. A stranger had become family. Pain had transformed into purpose. And the girl who thought her story was ending had discovered it was only just beginning. In the morning, they would wake up as husband and wife, as parents-to-be, as partners building a life together. They would face challenges and joys, struggles and triumphs. But they would face them together because Sophia had learned the most important lesson of all, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is take a chance on something that scares you. Sometimes the best things in life come disguised as reckless decisions. And sometimes, when you think you're running away from pain, you're actually running straight toward love. She had given her first time to a billionaire who made her his obsession. But in the end, they had both become obsessed with something far more valuable than power or wealth or even passion. They had become obsessed with building a life worth living together, and that was the greatest gift of all.